And hey there, hi there, ho there, on a gracious good Saturday morning to you. Welcome back to another exciting edition of the Cardinal Couple Radio Hour podcast, where we breathe the joy and excitement of UofL women's sports. And we certainly got some very exciting things to talk about today. I'm Paulie, and we've got the whole crew in here, one of them on mute, but still monitoring us as he performs his banking duties. But got a lot of fun stuff to talk about. Got Case Hoskins with us. Case, have you got all your leaves up yet? That would be the first question, I guess.
We did the backyard, and then some more fell down. But it was a chore. It took about 4 hours just to do the backyard last week, and thought about doing the front yard this week, but the puppy got spayed yesterday, so we're on recovery duty.
Now, do you rake and bag, or do you mulch and bag? How do you run yours?
We just raked and bagged last week. Tried to use the leaf blower, and all it did was make more of a mess, especially because it was kind of windy last week, so shelved that idea. It was just hard work with a rake.
Leaf blower, yeah. I wish I had one that ran off of a battery instead of a plug-in, because those can be very treacherous with a plug-in, especially with my clumsy nature. I end up jumping rope and falling flat on my face. So anyway, also got Jeff Mcadams in the house today. Jeff has already told me he's in his tank top and shorts. He wasn't going to wear the Speedo, but changed his mind at the last minute. He's got his windows wide open and communing with nature. Jeff, good morning.
That's a little bit of an exaggeration. I'm in my usual short sleeve shirt that I pretty much wear year round, and then shorts and sandals. So, taking advantage of some late warmth, which is problematic, but also pleasant in the moment.
I was going to say, it's 65 today. It's not like last week when it was 40 and you were wearing that. So.
Yeah, well, there's also just I'm not out much because, COVID stuff and isolating and all that. But, yeah, not that I've had any exposure, just my normal caution about it.
For sure. And monitoring us while he's doing his banking duties, Jared Anderson. He occasionally types messages in here to us and stuff like that. So he'll be listening. If we had a quiz today, he would probably type in his answers, but we don't have a quiz for you today. Jared types in the word morning, which means that he does realize what time of day it is. So good work over there, buddy. Keep up the good work.
Hey, it's been a rough week. If somebody can just acknowledge what time of day it is, I think they're doing well right now.
or what day of the week it is.
Yeah.
And, yeah, if I see one more thing about Pennsylvania on the just kidding. The only good thing about Pennsylvania, in my idea, was the old Pittsburgh Pirates that had Willie Stargell and Roberto Clemente. That's the only thing I ever liked about Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
But, yeah, okay. But I digress.
Welcome to the 267th of March,
It's like, let's hold an election. Let's let people send in ballots to the mail. That's a great idea. No problem. When it comes to never mind.
Yeah.
Hopefully by this time next year we will know who our president is. So, but, as we normally do at this time of the show, we give you a comprehensive, detailed account of scheduling for the cards and also our Twitter information, and that's handled so well by Case Hoskins. So Case, jump on in there and have some fun with it, buddy.
Well, I appreciate the confidence. It's going to be handled so shortly today. The schedule hasn't been updated to push the football game that is no longer happening today to next week. But outside of that, field hockey is on the calendar for tomorrow. That'll be ACC Network proper taking on North Carolina in the ACC championship match. That one's at noon. And then women's soccer, I assume that one will be on the ACC Network proper as well, because I don't know what else would be on at that time as far as ACC sports go. At 8 p.m. on Tuesday, they're taking on Virginia in their opening match of the ACC tournament. So a rematch for both teams. Those are the only two things on the calendar. As we get into next week, even since they haven't moved football game, there's not even anything on the calendar for next Saturday. Hopefully, Wednesday will have a game as well, and maybe even Thursday if the Cards are feeling particularly spry. down there in Cary, North Carolina. As we move to the Twitter accounts, I tweet is at best case scenario, BST case scenario, which is now my new SoundCloud account name too, because Paulie sent me an audio file, which I couldn't post in today's article very easily without an embed link. So now I have a SoundCloud account. Paulie tweets is at Cardinal Couple. Jeff tweets is at Jeff Mcadams and at Card Couple Radio, and Jared as at Mr. Anderson Jared. So that was it. Scheduling and Twitter in 1 minute.
Wow, he knocked that stuff off faster than it takes me to walk from the living room to the bathroom. Good job, bud. Yeah, but when I got that link, just to kind of talk about that link, that was the Justine Sauer interview, right?
Yes, yeah, that's correct.
Yeah, I was kind of like, I don't know what I can do with this format. Oh, I'll just send it to Case. He'll be able to figure it out and put it in his article. But I didn't know that you were going to have to go to. But welcome to SoundCloud. Hope you have a lot of fun there.
Thanks.
It's yeah. Well, there's no award or anything. Just glad to have you with us on SoundCloud, which has been an invaluable source for me on getting a lot of great interviews over the years, and also recording interviews and other things. So appreciate that. Had some good ones earlier this week as well. But we will move on into the joy and excitement aspect of things now. Although I do want to mention very quickly, the great debate going on right now, according to Jared, is how do you pronounce Nevada?
It's Nevada.
I've always said Nevada.
I say Nevada.
I have a long time said Nevada, but as according to basically everybody in the state, it's pronounced Nevada.
Look, I know how to pronounce it, just like I know how to pronounce Versailles, Jeff. But that doesn't mean that I'm not going to say Nevada and Versailles.
But the city in Kentucky is correctly pronounced Versailles because that's how the people there say it.
According to the people there who just say it wrong. But
no, but it's their city. They get to define how it's said. I
know. As a native Louisvillian, I can't say anything about how people want to pronounce words.
And the graphic file format is pronounced Jeff correctly. Again, because the creators said this is how it's pronounced.
Y'all talking about peanut butter, Jeff?
No.
My favorite animal is the giraffe.
Yeah, well.
I'm just speechless after that one. I never thought of it. But yeah, so anyway, the debate rages Nevada, Nevada, however you want to pronounce it. We know what you're talking about. I like to do it phonetically. Getting into excitement, though, boy, yesterday was an exciting day for Cardinal athletics, especially in the field hockey realm, where the University of Louisville, number 1 seed in the ACC field hockey tournament, went into the semifinals after getting a first-round bye in the quarterfinals to face Virginia. Virginia, who had won the previous day's battle against Wake Forest, drew the cards, and Louisville came out with intent, purpose, motivation, and desire, scoring very quickly, a minute 51 into the contest. That was all they got done in the first half, but I'm not sure what Justine Sauer said to them or pointed out to them or outlined to them at halftime, but I hope that she bottled it and kept it for further usage, because the Cards came out in a flurry in the second half with 3 goals in 6 minutes in the third quarter. Yes, that's right. Boom, boom, boom. A 4-1 lead. Charlie Van Oshad added one in the fourth quarter to make it 5-1. The Cards advance to the finals against North Carolina. Sunday at 1 o'clock. North Carolina guys had a kind of a squeaky semifinal match as that Syracuse team that knocked us off in the final game of the year gave them all they wanted and took them to overtime. Hayes Hoskins wrote it all up for you today in the Saturday Cardinal Couple column. Make sure and get over and get a chance to read that if you will. Case, how about them Cards, huh?
Yeah, it was, like you mentioned, a really exciting second half. The match almost looked very different. Virginia had a couple of really good chances at the end of the first quarter. If they had been able to steal one of those and taken a 2-1 lead, you can bet they would have closed up shop and made it very hard for Louisville to get the ball forward at all for the remainder of the match. But fortunately, Louisville's defense and Holland Bar were up to the task, kept them out of the cage for a second time. And then Louisville's scoring really lit back up in the third quarter, but their offense was doing well in the second quarter as well. They did get 3 penalty corners that they just weren't able to convert on, but they were definitely pressing in that second quarter and able to break through in the third, and it was all downhill for the Cavaliers from there.
So, Jeff, if I were to tell you that Louisville scored 5 goals in the game, 5 different players scored, and one of them was not Mercedes Pastor, would you have me committed or have me checked out for mental sanity?
No, it's not too terribly surprising, I don't think. I mean, these teams know that Meche is a very good ball handler and prolific scorer. They're going to key on her a lot. They're going to try and shut her down. And that has the tendency to open up other players to opportunities. So, I mean, it's good that UofL is taking advantage of that and making the most of it. But it's not totally surprising, no. Meche usually finds a way anyway, but nonetheless, we've got a lot of offensive options on the team, and they all kind of said, "All right, let's do it," and made it happen. It's great to see.
Absolutely a thrill to see. There was 5 different scorers for the Cards. Amy Plum, our English superstar, got it started just a minute 51 into the contest. One of them Snyder sisters, being Katie, got our second goal. Madison Walsh, the pride and joy of St. Louis, got the third goal. Margot Lawn, we love that name. She'll be around for a long time, got that 4th goal. And Charlie Van Oorschot, the 5th and final goal for the Cards as Louisville advances to the finals. When you take a quick look at these numbers just in this one, the Cards drew 6 penalty corners to just 1 for Virginia. I found that stat pretty interesting. Shots by period, the Cards had a 13-6 advantage there, guys. And also with shots on goal, Louisville had an advantage there as well. Statistically, it kind of matches what the score is, I think, Case.
Yeah, and the total box score is a bit deceptive because it doesn't indicate that any of Louisville's goals are scored by penalties or on penalty corners. So it looks like Louisville was 0 for 6, but they really weren't. They officially scored on 2 of those corners. Trying to recall if maybe it was a third, but I believe it was just 2 of them. Yep, they were saved on 2 of the others. But
I know Katie's was a penalty corner.
Yeah, and she almost scored on one of the other penalty corners.
That's right.
But Taylor Henriksen got a save there. Yeah, Louisville really kind of dominated this one. Like we mentioned, the second quarter, Louisville did outshoot Virginia 3-0. They got 3 corners in that one. They just couldn't score in that quarter. So Louisville offensively after the first quarter was very much in control. It just took until that third quarter to finally, like we said, break the dam and really knock the door down on Virginia's defense. And hey, they were on their heels for pretty much the whole second through fourth quarters and just held on long enough until after halftime when, like you mentioned, whatever Justine Sowery said in the locker room, keep it, use it. You're going to need it tomorrow probably.
Yeah. Coach did do a brief interview after the game with the field hockey SID, Lori Cordy, where she spoke for about a minute and a half. I think you'll find that also at the Cardinal Couple website if you want to listen to that. What was kind of funny, some of the stuff that they said before it actually got taped, like it was like, what did you think of today's performance, Coach? We scored 5 goals. What do you think I thought about it? It's typical Justine sense of humor there. Obviously very proud of the team, though, and certainly one of the things I think that I was most impressed with is that we were able to, after kind of a back and forth first quarter, put the defensive clamps on a very good Virginia team. Holland Barr didn't get tested a whole lot back there, but when she did, she performed. It was more the backs and also the defenders that just kept turning the Cavaliers away time after time, Case.
Yeah, and even Virginia's second goal came after a Holland Barr save. Just the Louisville defense not able to clear away after Barr got a good save on the corner. Louisville's defense was playing really well. In that second quarter, held Virginia to no offensive action the third quarter as well. Just completely dominated in the middle of the game, and then let up a little bit in the third or in the final quarter, but they were up 5-1 at that point. So you'll take what you can get there.
Yeah, absolutely. It was kind of a throwaway goal. And I do stand corrected, as Jeff, who is so good at pointing these things out to me, via typed in message. It is Lori Harmon now, not Lori Cordy, since she did get married. So she'll always just be Lori to me, though. So
Yeah, we've all known her as Lori Cordy for so long, and we're just getting used to. We don't see her frequently, so yeah, getting used to adjusting that in our mental conception of who she is. Yeah, I always try to make a point of getting that right, but
there you go.
Had a music teacher in elementary school who got married in the middle of the school year and then couldn't restrain her anger at second graders who couldn't realize that she had a new name. It was quite fascinating.
That's a little beyond. Okay, I'm sorry. Second graders are more worried about having correct change for their milk money back in those days, right? Not what your name used to be Smith and now it's Thompson. What the heck here? Huh?
I don't remember either of the names at this point, so a lot of credit did drumming it into our heads.
Yeah, I actually was able, and still I'm able to recall my first 6 teachers in grade school. So after all these years, it still rings in my bell. Probably because they all had ample opportunity to take a ruler or hand to my backside for my misbehavior. You never forget stuff like that. Okay. But the Cards now, 8-1. They move to Sunday action against Karen Shelton in Karen Shelton Stadium. See, of course, the head coach of North Carolina, who now has, I think, 701 wins in her illustrious 40-year career. But they had a little bit of trouble there with the Cuse yesterday, guys. Is that when Syracuse tied this thing up with less than a minute left in regulation, sent it to the OT. North Carolina got a very, very fortunate penalty shot, not a penalty stroke or corner, but a shot right in front of the goal, which they buried away a couple minutes into overtime action to get the W. You always hate to see a game maybe settled on something like that, where it's such a kind of unfair advantage for somebody standing that far away from the net who can fire away. And those things go in, it seems like 90% of the time anyway. But
they're kind of like penalty kicks in soccer, right? I mean, there really is a really, really high percentage chance of that. I almost wonder what led up to that, because that's penalty shots like that are uncommon. So
yeah, it's like
you
mentioned it is similar to a penalty shot in soccer, like a penalty kick, but at least in soccer the rules are pretty clearly defined on what leads to a penalty.
Right.
Yeah, and it seems like in field hockey it's kind of like, oh, this one's a penalty stroke today. Like,
yeah.
What? And for it to happen for the home team to give Karen Shelton the winningest ACC championship ever and send the home team to the ACC championship when they were winning 3-1 in the fourth quarter, and then allowed the underdog to come back and go to overtime is a little bit questionable. But here we are.
I'm not going to say controversial.
I'm not a conspiracy theorist when it comes to sports at all.
Theory there. Certainly not. All three of the referees out there on the field had North Carolina addresses, and all of the next Shelton in her neighborhood. No, interesting kind of a call there, because
it could have been completely legitimate. I didn't get to watch this game, and it just is what it is. That happens sometimes. Sometimes in a game like that, when Syracuse is fighting for their lives and they're so high on the emotion of getting that tie and going to overtime, sometimes you can just make a boneheaded mistake when you're playing on defense and lead to a penalty shot like that. So it's unfortunate. You'd like it to not be decided that way, like you mentioned. It's kind of anticlimactic, but it is what it is.
I watched this thing all the way through 3 quarters, and then I saw my next door neighbor pull up. They're in the process of cleaning out the house, and I needed to talk to him about something going on. And so I ran outside, hoping it would be just a quick 5-minute conversation, and I would be back in to watch the end of this. But we started talking about other stuff, and I'm thinking to myself, okay. And then when I came back in, I saw the penalty shot and saw it end. So Didn't get to see the pregnancy or go through the labor pains, but I got to see the birth, boys. There you go. That final shot
It's
that
an
won it.
odd analogy for that, but okay.
Absolutely. I'm kind of glad that Syracuse got down because they are the only ones who have put a blemish on the Cards record this season, winning the final fall regular season match against us 2-1. Syracuse is headed home. Conspiracy theory all through that bus and plane, I'm sure, as they're talking about it. And we'll probably have this thing tied up in the legal system for quite a long time, trying to gain that final berth, right? I'm sorry, it just seems to be on my mind these days. But so the Cards against North Carolina tomorrow. I don't know, Case. We beat them in the regular season. Of course, that was at Traeger Stadium. We're now playing in Karen's backyard, so to speak. Well, your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I mentioned today this is kind of a super payback game. UNC's trying to get payback on Louisville for breaking their 47 game winning streak, I think it was, earlier this year. But Louisville's getting the opportunity to get payback for the 2017 match in which Louisville was hosting the ACC tournament and lost to top-seeded UNC as part of that 47-game run. And the tables are turned this time. Louisville's the top seed now. They're taking on UNC in UNC's home field. They're going to try and double them up and see if they can't pull out a win and get Louisville's first ACC tournament win.
Certainly going to be I'm not going to call it an impossible task, but certainly one that's heavily favored and weighed, I think, in UNC's favor with that home field advantage and such. But certainly that's why they play them, so they'll get a winner. Jeff, Erin Matson for UNC, she's been nothing
real,
but
man.
super.
Yeah.
And she's got just a junior, too, so we have to deal with that again.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah. I'm kind of hoping that maybe the bursar or somebody will come up and say, "No, I'm sorry, we got these credits here." I'm just a junior, but of course we've got who was a quiet Mercedes yesterday, not running full 8 cylinders due to a very good defensive job, I think, that was being done by Virginia on Mercedes Pastor. But these are the two heavyweights on either squad, respectively. I think it's going to be key, Jeff, for the Cards to shut down Matson.
Yeah, I mean, she is the big offensive threat on UNC's team, much like Mercedes Pastor is on ours. I suspect, like us, that they have other offensive weapons as well that we'll have to be aware of. Hopefully our defense is strong enough and we have individuals that can mark Erin Matson well enough that we don't have to overload the defense on her to slow her down. I've seen some of the games this year, for example, where Mercedes Pastor is going up against 4 defenders, right? And that's some of the way that some of the other teams are trying to slow her down. Which is why some of the other players are more available. And we saw yesterday where we took advantage of that. So hopefully we don't have to do that with Erin Matson to slow her down, although, she's a very, very good player. So it's a possibility that it may take that much, and that'll be challenging if we do.
Certainly a lot of threats beside Erin on that UNC squad, not to belittle any of those other players or stuff. Right. And certainly a very, very wise and intelligent coach who's been doing this for quite a long time, 40 years. Think what you were doing 40 years ago, if you're even 40 years old. And that's when Miss Karen Shelton said, "Yes, I will go ahead and leave the disco dance floor and join you as a head field hockey coach." That being prime back in then. Case, some of your thoughts on this one here? I mean, this is not an easy road for the Cards, but we are the number 1 seed for a reason.
Yeah, if you look back at that October 2 game against North Carolina, Louisville won that one 3-1, but man, North Carolina had a lot of great opportunities. They had some open shots that somebody just managed to get in the way to block, that maybe went wide, that had some good saves. Louisville hasn't had a shutout since the opener against Duke when they won that one 3-0. So Louisville's defense has definitely allowed some goals in this year. I don't think they're going to allow just one to North Carolina tomorrow. I foresee tomorrow's match being a really high-scoring affair, given the proclivity to scoring that both teams have shown, especially recently. So I think this one could be really interesting. Louisville's going to have to match North Carolina blow for blow and kind of try and be the last person standing in this one, I think is how it's going to end up.
I just certainly don't want to see this one come down to a penalty shot. Okay.
Well, yeah.
Now, if Louisville was going to win with a penalty shot, maybe it'd be a little more acceptable to it. But I'd just like to see the full action of playing. I don't fully understand field hockey's penalty shot like you guys were talking about earlier, so I don't want to see the ball game in that way. I just hope the Cards can win it in regulation fashion. So it'll be a noon contest. This one will be available for you on the ACC network. So certainly, get on there and watch that thing, and let's cheer these Cards on to victory as they try to complete the fall slate of field hockey with an impressive 9-1 record. Wouldn't that be something as they go into spring?
It would be amazing. That's a heck of a result in particularly in ACC play.
And we were, I think, the 5th seed in preseason.
I think that's right. Predicted to finish 5th. I think that's right. Yeah.
Yeah. So a nice surprise there, certainly for everybody to see how well the Cards have done. That's not the only UofL women's sports team. You were breathing heavy there, Jesse.
I was stifling a yawn, actually. Sorry.
Yeah, there you have it. We can keep them entertained for hours, folks. There we go.
I'm still working on my coffee is what's going on.
Okay, I'll let you have another sip. Then as Jared has typed in very cryptically, "Wow, Paul, you must be old." Yes, I deal with that every morning. Thank you, Jared. And then he also typed in, "Beating a fantastic program like UNC is tough to do even once, and it'll be difficult to do again, especially on UNC's home turf. I'm going to send that message directly with your name on it to Karen Shelton and Justine Sowery." So, you're covered either way.
I don't think either of them will disagree with that. It's hard to beat a good team like that twice.
Absolutely so. I mean, it wouldn't surprise me. I hope it doesn't happen, but it wouldn't surprise me if UNC wins this. What it is going to do is make it interesting for when they do resume in the spring, when other squads from across the nation join the ACC in playing field hockey, to see how the rankings early on will come out. Will the Big Ten, for example, get some teams in there? Will the Pac-10 get some teams in the top 10? Obviously, they're going to get a couple in there, you would think, but certainly with the body of work that the ACC has put out there, would be very surprised if anybody other than the ACC takes the top 3 spots, guys. Just my thoughts on it.
Yeah, rankings are going to be weird, overall national rankings, with the ACC having played basically their full schedule already and no other teams playing at all. And that's assuming they do play in the spring, which I'm guessing they will, but that's not a guarantee at this point. So.
That's the second thing too, with the virus continuing to spike and reach new total heights every day. It seems like there's a new higher number than the day before. It could put some things into question for certain on that. So we'll see if it happens or not. Witness Cardinal football being canceled this weekend because of the virus spikes. But other women's sports teams still in postseason play. Yeah, you betcha. We got one. We got Louisville women's soccer. They're going up Tuesday. I would imagine they're probably, if not, they're already on their way there to Cary, North Carolina, to the Wake Med Soccer Complex, where they will be the number 6 seed in the ACC Women's Soccer Tournament. Total of 8 teams. Kind of some nervous discussion we had last week on whether the Cards would get in or not. But the Cards did get in, and they certainly got in as a very, very solid 6th pick. And by assuming that pick, they got to avoid both North Carolina and Florida State in first round action. That made me very happy, Case.
Yeah, I was kind of thinking whenever it came out that Louisville was the 6th seed, that meant that they tied Virginia Tech and Notre Dame at 12 points, and I'm really not sure how they won the tiebreaker over Notre Dame, but I'm going to ignore it because three-way tiebreaker rules are insane in soccer generally, and I'm just going to take the good with the bad. The bad being that you have to play Virginia again, but the good being that you don't have to play Florida State or North Carolina again. And Louisville's in a pretty good position as the 6th seed if they can knock off the Cavaliers and see what they have going forward. I think that Louisville has a good chance against Virginia, probably the best chance they would have had against the top 4. Knowing what we know about Florida State and North Carolina and what we don't know about Clemson and how that would be a new matchup for Louisville. I think this is a really good chance for the Cards to get a chance here to move on in this ACC tournament.
When you look at this match, obviously, I think some of the keys for Louisville, how well Amina plays against the Cavalier defense. The Cards were, I think, defeated 2-0 during the regular season up in Charlottesville, if I remember that correctly.
That's correct.
So let's see if Amina can maybe get something going, getting something in the net in this contest, and also the play of our defense will be very, very important. As Karen Ferguson Days mentioned to me earlier in the week, Paulie, when we look at defense, we just can't talk about Gabby. We need to talk about the whole team because we are a whole team defense. And I certainly said, Coach, you're wrong. It's all about Gabby all the time.
Sure, that went over well.
I did not say that, did I? No. But I did get her to kind of agree that she was the best goalkeeper in the ACC. Anyway, that will be a key match. Gabby, unfortunately, she's had some goals scored on her in her last couple games here. Maybe attributed to kind of a weaker than normal in normal years front line in front of her back there at the DBX. But in case you can give me a lot more information on that, I'm sure. Gabby, fantastic goalkeeper, but she does need maybe a little more help, right?
Well, in this game against Virginia, the previous game, Louisville was just rocked defensively. Virginia had 24 total shots, 13 on frame. Gabby finished with 10 saves, a career high. Louisville only got 2 shots for the entire game. Despite having 7 corner kicks, they were only able to turn 2 of those into actual shots on goal, or not even on goal. Well, both of those were, but 2 shots in general, which is absurd. I don't even know effectively how you get 7 corner kicks with only having 2 shots total in the game, but that's where they ended up.
Yeah.
But like you mentioned, Gabby's going to need some help in this one, in the midfield in particular. The defense is going to do their best, and the defense did do a pretty decent job when you have 24 shots and can keep some of those off frame, including getting a block on one that was on frame. The defense did a good job, but you can't let Virginia get the opportunity to take that many shots, which starts in the midfield. We've seen Louisville play this kind of park the bus style against really good scoring teams, and it worked against Florida State, and then it didn't really work against Virginia or North Carolina. So I'm wondering if maybe they'll not change the formation, but maybe change the philosophy of the formation and try to space things out a little bit more and utilize what you have in attack to try and keep the ball more in the midfield or closer to your offensive third than to Virginia's offensive third. That's what it's going to take, really. Louisville's going to have to steal a goal or 2 and then play strong defensively. It's going to be tough. It is going to be tough. No matter who they played of the top 4, it was going to be tough. But I do think this one is the most winnable.
And one of the things also that I talked with a little bit with the Karen Ferguson Days on, Jeff, is that this is the final game of the day in these quarterfinals. 8 o'clock game, I think, is the start time for it. I asked if that would have any effect on the team as far as the time of the game and also the possible condition of the field after 3 previous games on it. But she didn't seem to be really worried about either one of those 2 aspects. So, and certainly we're no stranger to 8 o'clock tips. That's not been a problem.
It's certainly, college teams and college age folks are used to being up late. That's not a big deal, right? I did that when I was that age as well. And these players are used to playing these late games. They do it on occasion. A lot of the games in the season were 7 o'clock, so that's not that big a deal. I would be a little bit concerned about the condition of the field when it's had that many games played on it in that short of a time. So, but they've got some really great groundskeepers, and these fields are created and developed and designed and engineered for that. So, it'll probably, unless it's like raining, which I don't expect it is. I don't believe that's.
It's supposed to.
Is it supposed to be raining? Great.
Yeah, 40% chance of rain on
oh
Tuesday.
boy, here we go.
Okay, that's okay.
80% chance of thunderstorms on Wednesday and 60% chance of thunderstorms on Thursday. The whole tournament's going to get played in the rain.
Well, that may then cause a challenge to field conditions. So yeah.
Yeah, absolutely, it could. I mean, that's one of the things you got to kind of worry about, as long as it isn't Wake Forest type field hockey rain where they've got rowboats out there and the Belle of Louisville comes by with passengers, because it's obviously negotiable.
Yeah, obviously soccer's not playing on turf like field hockey does, but you'll still see a change to the way the ball plays if it's really heavy rain. Wouldn't be probably as dramatic.
Case, we've seen Lynn take a lot of water before and do well. I'm not sure about how Wake Med's field is set up, but since it's a soccer complex, you've got to maybe guess that they put some money into it. I don't know. I find it kind of strange. We'll see what happens, though. When you take a look at the cards here, guys, in this season, it's been an interesting kind of 4-4 season. Some games Louisville could have won, some pretty close contests there that they didn't pull off. In case some of the things that, let's say we do get by Virginia. Okay, let's say we pull the upset. After that, looking who I think it probably North Carolina. Is that right? If I'm reading the bracket correctly.
I think you'd go. I don't know. I need to look at the bracket now. You've caught me out. I would think that the 3-6 would then face the 2-7 winner.
Right.
Which would be North Carolina, right? I was trying to think of whether that was North Carolina or Florida State. I didn't pay attention to the top two lines when I found out that Louisville was the 6th seed because you didn't think that they would need to, particularly. But if they do have to go on, like I said, if you can win tomorrow's game, that's a success, right? For the season, you're playing one of the top teams, especially when you finish the season at 4-4, kind of limped to the finish line, and we're on the verge of maybe not even making it. If you can advance out of the first round and get a victory over a team that beat you earlier in the season, I think that's a win on the season, and to do that would be great. To look ahead to North Carolina would be a challenge. I don't think North Carolina is going to get knocked off by the 7th seed, I guess, is Notre Dame. I don't think that's going to happen. So
I don't see that happening either.
It'll be tough, but I don't think you can look ahead to I guess that would be a semifinal match when you have to worry about such a strong competition in the quarterfinals.
One of the things also that I'm going to be particularly interested in is the Cardinals' substitution pattern. And they've been playing a lot of freshmen over the last couple of games in there due to injuries and such. I'll be interested to see how they work into the Cardinals' mix and action in the contest. I've seen some good things out of the freshmen. Been impressed with the way they've been playing.
Some real-time follow-up. That's Virginia Tech taking on North Carolina, who I still don't think has a chance. But
no, I think, you put anybody in there against UNC, and I don't like the other team's chances, no matter who it is, unless, of course, it's for Florida State. And Florida State, and that'll be a fun matchup to watch, too, those two, if they make it to the finals. FSU and their kind of their avant-garde style that they play down there in the North Carolina traditional, we're going to pound the ball at the net until it goes in and wear you out. So it could be fun to watch those two play in the finals. I'm guessing they'll get there. And I never got to ask Jared. Jared was trying to get up a pick'em contest for field hockey and also for the women's soccer. I don't know if you guys sent in any selections on it. I did. I don't know how those turned out, and if he's listening, maybe he can type in, a response on what he's seen on that if he's got it. But with 6 or 7 games, I know it's rough to do a pick 'em. So not like basketball.
Yeah.
But speaking of basketball, let's just segue right on into that as we got some great news out of UofL women's basketball in a couple of aspects. First of all, a very, very good announcement that the Louisville Cardinals in 2021 will be representing the United States in the World University Games, Jeff. The Wugs, one of your favorites there.
Oh, yeah, I love the Wugs. Just because they get to say Wugs.
if no other reason. They're actually going to be playing these university games in China next year. Chengdu, China. I don't know if that's near Kathmandu or not. I have no idea. But Chengdu will Chengdu you too. But anyway, the Cards will be actually the 4th ever collegiate program to represent the United States in the Wugs. UNC Charlotte back in 2009, Maryland 2017, and Mississippi State 2019. Besides those 4, Louisville being the 4th one, obviously, in 21. Louisville's been represented by a national team. So a very nice honor for Louisville. Jeff Walls obviously probably was a big reason why they decided to do that with all his work with USA Basketball and also the incredible success he had over in Bangkok back in 2019 with the U19s. But what a great honor, guys, for us to be able to go over there and represent the United States in the Wugs, Jeff.
Yeah, I mean, the Wugs are always fun to watch anyway, or at least follow along. Chengdu, by the way, is pretty central China, for what it's worth. Yeah, I was going to say, what other big cities are? Yeah, none. It's central China, so it's kind of the biggest city in the area. So the Wugs are always a lot of fun. UofL's always has had significant presence with them in the past, whether it be individuals or swimmers and things like that as well, I believe. So yeah, it's great to see them back. They're always fun to keep up with what's going on, and to have the whole team to just say, hey, okay, here's a team that's ready to go and can compete at this level and represent us. That's a pretty big vote of confidence there.
Yeah, the United States will be competing in the World Games which they've competed in since 1965. Case, very, very interested in that. They're also going to be offering packages for fans to travel with the team to China to be announced at a later date. I'm not too sure if I'm ready to apply for one of those, buddy.
Yeah, I think the travel and the concern around that is probably why we're seeing the U.S. be represented by a collegiate team this time around instead of by a national collaboration of players, because all these teams are going to have the most recent year of practice under their own COVID guidelines and all of that without having to travel all across the country, have reduced practice time to move on to that event. So I think that's probably what's going on there. And like you mentioned, a lot of people are still going to be gun shy about traveling, especially as we still don't really know what's going on now, where we'll be in the future, really any kind of updates to this point. So it'll be interesting. I probably won't sign up just because I don't really feel like traveling across the country and spending that money to go to the games. But I would be interested in watching the replays, probably not the live versions, since they're going to be on about 12-hour time difference, and I assume they'll play them at prime time in China instead of prime time in the U.S. since it is an international event.
And one of the interesting things about this is that since it's going to be in the kind of late summer of 2021, brings the first question in mind to me is, will Dana Evans be going over with the team, or will she be actively getting ready for a WNBA career? So she's the only senior on this team, so she would be the only one right now, as we know of, that would be in question on whether she'd be going over on the trip or not. But certainly it would be an interesting aspect. Jeff, going up against the Wugs and playing some, of course, teams from all around the world and everything. one of the things we've seen in past years is very good collegiate players up here who are from other countries go to their home nation's WUG team and do quite well.
Yeah, and it makes you wonder about a player like Noriko Kono, who's Japanese, and I presume the Japanese will have an entry in here, and they probably would have liked to have had her come play for them, and uh, what's the eligibility situation like there? Yeah, and I don't have answers to that, but it makes you ask questions like that. The Japanese tend to have pretty good basketball teams. Canada and Australia also tend to put some pretty good basketball teams up in these international competitions. So those are ones to watch. This is a multi sport event. Obviously, we've talked about it in the past, so I'm always curious what's going on in some of the other sports as well. But obviously, our focus will be on basketball pretty heavily because of our involvement in it.
Absolutely. So on that, we'll be watching to see what the Cards can do. Now, what a great learning experience for the players too. Jared did get back with me, by the way, on the pick'em here. He's saying we did not get too many entries, maybe 6 or so for each. I need to do the calculations, but so okay. So what you're telling me basically is you proposed this contest, you pushed this contest. Now you just kind of left it laying over in the corner
Well,
like
no,
an old
it's
blanket.
the tournament's not over yet. You don't have to do the calculations until the tournament's over,
Why,
right?
why does it not surprise me you would jump in there in Jared's defense?
Well, you know.
I'm enamored with you. All right, cool. So we'll know more about that. I'm sure he'll put it in his article later in
Yeah.
this week on how those of you who got in or did, and those of you who didn't enter, you do not get a date with me or get a chance to discuss technology with Case and Jeff. Nah. So there, those were the prizes we were offering. If I had won, I probably would have opted to date myself. Okay, so other basketball news that we got in, and kind of not totally basketball related news, but certainly affecting basketball. We have a new senior woman administrator. Tell me all about that, Jeff.
Yeah, we talked about this a little bit last week. Christine Herring was let go out of this position, and the new person to take that role was announced this week. And unsurprisingly, to anybody that is familiar with the workings of the athletic department at UofL, it was Amy Calabrese was named to that position. She's a up and coming, well, yeah, both established, but also still up and coming and developing her roles in athletics administration. She is a former U of L student athlete, played on the soccer team. I was going to tweet something about her ability to score goals and finish, but then I went and looked, and she was a backfielder, so she didn't really score many goals. So, but yeah, Amy, I've known Amy a little bit.
Hey, Sarah Hernandez is going to have words with you.
Well,
Yes,
but not
right.
typically, right? Like, backfielders are not going to be the ones scoring the most goals for the most part. But anyway, I've known Amy for a while in her role at U of L, and she's a delightful person, and I think she'll do a fine job with the position. I'm glad to see her in it. I also thought she
Oh, I
was
can
the
say,
obvious pick for it.
yes, she was the front runner, I think, for the
Right.
position. Either that, but obviously, Neem Nelson. Thank goodness she's graduated because she would be right up in your face about scoring and defenders. But okay, we'll let that go. It's just a generalized statement there. I think she's a good fit though for the position. You certainly see her at a lot of the women's sports events. My contact with her been kind of limited, kind of a hi, how are you doing, that sort of deal. I've never really had to go to her directly with any type of issues or situations or anything, and certainly don't foresee that happening down the road. The main thing is the comfortability that the coaches and the rest of the staff have with somebody in that position, and I think Amy fills that bill quite admirably, Jeff. I really do.
Yeah. I have nothing but great things to say about Amy, so I'm glad to see her in this position. I think it'll be great for the department, and as far as I can tell, she's well liked, across the board, and yeah, it's fantastic.
So the way it turns out, if any administration problems, Vince now has a new hatchet man to take care of them on the women's side. Good job there, buddy. All right. Moving on into some other things, we didn't really talk a whole lot about the Dana and Kiana interview that they held earlier in the week, and I did take a part on it. There's three things I took away from this. First of all, I just love Kiana Smith's intelligence. I mean, she is just super sharp as a tack with things. Not to say Dana isn't. Dana obviously is very, very intelligent as well. But Kiana, you blew me away with some of your answers and responses. Good job, girl. Second of all, guess who joined the broadcast? No, it wasn't Dick Vitale. No, it wasn't Bob Vellana. It was Deb Antonelli. She jumped on in and asked some questions, and it was so great to hear her voice and some of the questions. And
she asked about defensive sets, right? Because that's what
yeah,
of course.
So, no, Dana, as far as scoring goes,
yeah, Antonelli's all about offense.
she is the big O. Yeah, she sure is. And we all kind of took a step back and just let her, hey, Deb's on the floor. Everybody back up and let her talk a little bit. That's why she has reached the prominence and the position that she has. Another thing I thought was really, really remarkably interesting that both girls stressed on is the play of the freshmen. They are so enamored with the way that the freshmen are playing right now. And then certainly a lot of that starts with Olivia Cochran, but they were talking a lot about how Haley's jumping right at there and just battling with them like she's a seasoned veteran. So things look very good for that freshman class. And let's kind of take it from that aspect into, Case. There's a bunch of newcomers on this team here. And if you take a look at it, only 5 players who actually stepped on the court for Louisville in a basketball game last year are left on this roster. The other 7 have not played for the Cards. People think we're going to be a good team, but I'm still a little bit nervous about this lack of actual Cardinal game experience here, buddy.
Well, I think if you look at kind of the positives of the scheduling that, and obviously COVID doesn't have positives, but the scheduling aspect is that it has given teams a little bit longer to begin their preseason setup. I mean, it's November 7th. We'd be talking about some games upcoming soon, if not for the delays to the seasons driven by quarantines and such. So Louisville's had more time to get together. Some of these newcomers that didn't play last year were on the team, if I recall. They were just redshirted. So did get some practice time, did get developed with the team.
Being one of them too, yeah.
Right. I think Haley Van Lith reported in January, if I recall. Wasn't she a spring enrollee?
Yeah, she came in a little bit later than the rest of the freshmen, due to having to fulfill some requirements and finish up some things up in Washington that she was involved in. So she didn't get there with the other freshmen right away, but certainly has made up a lot of time, yeah.
But so I do think that Louisville's had the time to get together. It's a lot of newcomers, but Jeff Walz is a fantastic coach. It's not like he can't get those players to work together. And you're talking about really talented players that are coming in that are those newcomers. I think Louisville's going to be just fine with the new faces. I don't think that that's going to hurt them at all.
And Jeff, I know you'll love this response when they asked Dana about the play of Casa Robinson. He said, well, Casa's one of those girls that can play 1 through 5 for us.
Wow.
Now, I don't know. She might be, to me, in my eyes, maybe a little small at center.
I was going to say a little tricky in the center, but yeah. But she gets in there and she mixes them up. She gets rebounds. I mean, she does. She makes her presence known down there. I don't think she's going to be comfortable in that position full time, but she can be down in the paint and have some effect, have some positive effect.
A guy who reads our site and I talk with occasionally is convinced and absolutely certain that she'll be a starter this year for Louisville. I kind of said, I don't know about that so much. I think she's more of a little bit of a come off the bench, give us a spark type of player, but he's very adamant about the fact Casa better start, otherwise there's something going on down there.
I wouldn't be shocked if she started, but I wouldn't be shocked if she didn't. It's kind of one of those situations. There's so much talent on this team that you could compose so many different starting lineups that are completely reasonable. So
it should be a lot of fun to see how all that works out. Of course, they get underway November 25th as they will head down to Murfreesboro, Tennessee to play Middle Tennessee State University, MTSU down there. A very, very good program in their league down there. They've certainly done some very good things over the years. Will be a nice challenge for the Cards to get that started. And I think we're all ready for a little basketball. Should be a lot of fun. I think Dana's the key to this team. Obviously, this year she's the senior. She's got the leadership skills. She's got an incredible career already at Louisville. But some other players, I think, maybe just let's kind of talk about. Case, you look at this squad. Obviously, Dana's going to get hers and do hers. Who do you look at some of the other factors maybe being in kind of complementing what she does out there?
Well, I think Elizabeth Balagoon's going to be a big threat. We saw last year that she can really step out and draw some attention away from Dana Evans, and I think that she's only going to have gotten better. You mentioned Mikasa Robinson being a starter. There's like 8 guards that could start. I don't know that you have quite enough positions on the floor, but I think that Louisville's really going to be a backcourt-oriented team this year, more so than front court. It's not to say that they don't have some players that can make some things happen in the front court, but if you look at the roster, they've only got 4 forwards listed and no centers. So Louisville's definitely going to be one of those teams that's trying to penetrate the lane off the bounce. They're trying to hit shots from the outside. It's really going to be a mobile and fast team. And so I think that any players that can contribute to that, like Mikasa Robinson, Narika Kono's got some speed and some ball handling ability. I think that that's going to be what you're looking at is Louisville's going to play a very guard-heavy lineup. So sure, you have to worry about Dana Evans, but when you've got that many shooters on the floor, that many passers, it's not like you can leave her alone, you know?
No, you can't leave her alone.
And you can't like triple team her either because it's just too many people that would be wide open if you do that. So she's going to dictate so much of what happens on the floor just by being on the floor, whether she's on the ball, off the ball, having a bad shooting night or not. Because all it takes is, you can go 0 for 9 and then hit 3 threes in a row, and all of a sudden you're 3 for 12 and feeling a lot better. So it's not like. It's not like this team starts and ends with Dana Evans, but she's certainly a giant threat that is going to open the floor up for everyone.
Definitely agreed there, and I think that we saw flashes of brilliance of that last year in her too, Jeff. Where she would have some of those games that made you go, "Wow, can't wait to see the rest of her career." Case has brought up a good one here. Any that you'd like to add to that?
Not particularly. We've already talked about Mikasa Robinson a little bit, and I'm probably pretty well known for being a Robinson fan. So that's where a lot of my watching is going to be to see how well she can do in this crowded field.
Never would have guessed it.
Yeah,
never would have thought.
Right. I mean, I hide my opinions so well, right?
I agree with you guys on that. I'm going to be very, very interested in, and I think some great things will be coming out of 2 freshmen, Olivia Cochran and Haley Van Lith. Mm-hmm. Cochran, so much about the reports I've heard out of her on campus about some of the things she's doing. Jeff Wall saying that he has never seen anybody with that many skill sets available as a freshman since he's been at Louisville in the post position. Okay? That's a huge statement when you take a look at some of the frontline bangers we've had during Wall's tenure at Louisville. And for him to put Olivia up there number 1 says a lot to me. Also, of course, Haley Van Lith with her incredible skills, the things that she was able to do not only in her high school career but with the USA teams, just a heady ball playing guard who can shoot the ball fantastically, can distribute, can be a floor general when needed. I think these 2 freshmen are going to be very, very key to what the Cards do. And last but not least, I'm hoping that Narika Kono fully healed now and can show some of the brilliance that she showed when she played for Japan over the years and come in here and really gives us a spark. I know her enthusiasm's great. Her hustle's there. Her defense, maybe a little suspect, maybe that's picked up a little bit. But I certainly want to see some good things out of Kono too, guys.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, big fan.
With all that covered then, I think we can kind of roll into some final thoughts here today. I'll go ahead and, let's see, we started with you last week, didn't we, Jeff? So we'll go to Case this week and let him start out with final thoughts.
Oh, man. I think... man.
You want me to pass on you? You want a couple of minutes to compose yourself and think on?
Not sure I'm in any better situation to give anything.
I'm stealing Jeff's then. I'm stealing Jeff's. If he didn't call it. Taylor Morgan announced as the ABCA Diversity Award winner.
Yes.
We can share this one, Jeff, because you're going to know more about it than I do. But I think it's important to call out. I believe she's the graduate assistant, correct, from Minnesota, or is she
correct.
A full
graduate assistant?
Yeah. So yeah,
right.
ABCA, obviously the Volleyball Coaches Association. So that's a national award. Really big win in an important category, I think, for UofL. So congratulations to her.
She's listed as volunteer assistant coach.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
we do have a graduate assistant that is. I'm trying to come up with her name. Meredith Jewell is her name.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
I just pulled it up here. That is correct.
Yeah.
Certainly a great honor there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Jeff, is that kind of mirror yours? Anything else to add on that?
No, it's great. She's Taylor Morgan is she was on the Minnesota team that knocked us out of the tournament. This past
like
year.
What you saw. That's why she came here.
Yeah, and she's a medal hitter. She was a medal hitter there, and so bringing her knowledge and skills and mentoring and guiding, particularly Anna Stevenson and Amaya Tillman on our team, and we see her on the sidelines. She's active. She's excited. She's out there. It's great to see. I think she's got a great career as a coach ahead of her in general, and this is just the very beginning of it.
Absolutely so. I'm tickled to have her.
Yep.
Final thoughts out of me here. Just kind of I hate to sound like the old man yelling at you to get off my front porch here, but ladies and gentlemen, listeners, boys and girls, children of all ages, the COVID response is not what our governor wants it to be because the numbers keep climbing, okay? We're not fooling around here. This is serious stuff. I've had some friends of mine die from this. I've had some friends of mine get very, very sick from this dreaded pandemic disease. So if you're not worried about yourself, fine, whatever. Don't wear a mask. Do that. But wear one for the safety and the protection of those around you, including old guys like me. We thank you so much for that. And someday soon this will all be over down the road, hopefully. Until then, do the right thing. Mask up and wash yourself, okay? All right, boys. I think that's got us for this week. Everybody have fun. And we'll catch you, unless you know something we don't, here again next Saturday with the Cardinal Couple Radio Hour podcast.
All right, thanks.